Barcelona are reportedly setting their sights on Doue of PSG and what could become one of the boldest transfer pursuits of the next window. According to the claims, Barca are preparing to reshape their squad with the clear ambition of competing once again with the very best clubs in Europe. The long-term plan, insiders suggest, is to construct a new project around the prodigious talent of Lamine Yamal, the 18-year-old sensation who has already established himself as the future of Spanish football. The whispers out of Catalonia point to the idea of pairing Yamal with another electric winger of the same generation, none other than Doue, the young Frenchman, currently under PSG's protection, has been touted as one of Europe's brightest attacking prospects. The vision at Camp Nou is that the duo, operating together, could usher in a new golden era for Barca, dazzling crowds across La Liga and the Champions League. The potential partnership is already being hyped as the dream duo of European football. The idea of Yamal's silky left-footed creativity being complemented by Doue's explosive pace and sharp instincts is enough to excite any Barcelona supporter. The club's hierarchy reportedly believes that such a combination could provide the perfect foundation to reclaim their status at the top of the footballing pyramid, much like the days when Lionel Messi was surrounded by the likes of Neymar and Luis Suarez. Still, the rumors should be taken with caution. Indy Kaler, who has been gaining traction as a so-called reliable transfer source, was the first to float this story, but the credibility of this claim is in serious doubt. PSG consider Doue untouchable and view him as one of the pillars of their own long-term project. In fact, insiders at the Paris club strongly believe that the 19-year-old will go on to win the 2025 Golden Boy Award, cementing his reputation as the next superstar to come out of France. Convincing PSG to part with the talent of such promise would not only be extraordinarily difficult, but also prohibitively expensive for Barcelona, who are still operating under strict financial restrictions. The Catalan club would need to balance their books with further sales or creative financial maneuvering to even make an official approach. Nonetheless, the very suggestion of Yamal and Doue playing together has sparked conversation across social media. Supporters are already fantasizing about how the two might redefine Barcelona's style of play, offering a brand of attacking football that could rival Europe's current giants, such as Manchester City, Real Madrid, and Bayern Munich. If Barca pull this off, it would be a huge statement that they're fast-tracking their return to dominance, though time will tell if it's real or just another rumor. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Alan Shearer takes incredible swipe at Alexander Isak during Liverpool's season opener amid Newcastle transfer saga. Scroll down to see what Eddie Howe last said on the situation. Alan Shearer has taken an incredible swipe at Newcastle rebel Alexander Isak. The Toon Ace has been pushing for a transfer away from the club this summer, and it is understood he will not take part in Newcastle's season opener at Aston Villa. Isak, 25, was the subject of a rejected £110 million offer from Liverpool, with the St. James Park club wanting £150 million to sell. However, having already splashed large sums on the likes of Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike, Shearer took a dig at Isak after seeing the latter net the opener against Bournemouth. Ekitike had scored against Crystal Palace mere moments into his debut in the Community Shield, before also managing to score in his Anfield debut on Friday night. The Frenchman, who arrived on Merseyside for an initial £69 million from Eintracht Frankfurt, took a pass from Alexis Mac Allister and nutmegged a Cherries defender before a lucky bounce put him through 101 and allowed him to slot home and open his Premier League account. It was the first goal of a thrilling encounter, which the Reds won 4-2 after two late goals from Federico Chiesa and Mohamed Salah saw off a Bournemouth comeback, although the occasion was plagued by alleged racist abuse by a fan directed towards Antoine Semenyo, with authorities ejecting the fan from the ground and saying they were investigating the incident. But Magpies legend Shearer took to social media during the game to take aim. Shearer, 55, said, "Surely any forward thinking of going to Liverpool will be having second thoughts now, having to play second fiddle to the brilliant Ekitike all season." Isak, who scored 27 goals in all competitions last season, has been training alone away from his teammates for the duration of his strike. Newcastle have continued to pay his £130,000 a week wages, but Sunsport understands disciplinary action is on the cards if he misses the club's opening game against Villa at 12:30 p.m. Today, the Swedish ace will be hit with a fine for missing a competitive game if he fails to show. But Isak and his agent Vlado Lermic are still not changing their stance as they continue to try and force his exit. Boss Eddie Howe has made it clear that he wants his top scorer back with the team. but he admits the future of the hotshot is out of his hands. Howe confirmed Anthony Gordon and Sven Botman had shaken off preseason knocks and were available to play, with only Joe Willock unfit for the game. Newcastle also remain in the hunt for a new hitman, with reports linking Brentford's Yoane Wissa, Paris Saint-Germain's Gonçalo Ramos, and Manchester United's Rasmus Højlund with moves. Eddie Howe insists Alexander Isak could stay at Newcastle. All options remain open. Not in my hands. Diplomatic Howe has lost control of Isak's Newcastle future. The £150 million rated Sweden striker has effectively gone on strike as he holds out for a transfer to champions Liverpool. As a player at Bournemouth and Portsmouth, Eddie Howe could invariably be found reading the foreign news pages of the broadsheets while traveling to matches on the team bus. More than 2 decades on the Newcastle manager's ability to construct carefully worded sentences loaded with calibrated between the lines subtext make it easy to imagine him as some sort of international envoy. This skill set dictates that few Premier League counterparts can be better equipped to confront a problem such as Alexander Isak. Yet, behind a resolutely brave face, even Newcastle's manager acknowledges, albeit tacitly, that he has lost control of the situation. The Sweden striker is so keen to force through a move to Liverpool that he has, in effect, gone on strike. After resisting overtures to be reintegrated with the squad, Isak continues to train alone and, it is understood, will shortly be fined the maximum permissible 2 weeks' wages for making himself unavailable for Saturday's season opener at Aston Villa. I've said many times I want Alex to train and play, Howe said on Friday. I've had those conversations with him, pressed on whether Isak could rejoin the squad before the end of this month. He shrugged. I don't know, he said. Alex will control that. So how did it come to this? Isak, disgruntled at not receiving the pay rise he believed he had been promised during the summer of 2024, left plenty of clues about his mindset last season. In a BBC interview with Alan Shearer last winter, and then before the Carabao Cup final, the 25-year-old was non-committal, to say the least, about his future. It would be inconceivable to think a manager as tuned in as Howe would not have second-guessed his leading scorer's disillusion. In perhaps the most revealing moment of Friday's press conference, he was asked whether, when Newcastle sealed Champions League qualification in May, he was confident of Isak fulfilling the 3 remaining years on his contract. I was not thinking of any individual in that moment, so I can't really give an answer on that, he said. Then came a query as to why Newcastle had acted as if blind to Isak's unhappiness and potential for disruptive behavior in June. Had they placed the striker on the market then, an auction would surely have unfolded. There would also have been more alternative attacking options for the board to pursue. Howe admitted losing Isak, who skipped preseason, is a big blow, calling him one of the world's best strikers. Howe said morale dipped in preseason as players struggled with Isak's absence. Howe admitted Isak's absence hurt morale, but said the squad has adapted, with Liverpool's £110 million bid rejected and no replacement yet signed. He faces Villa without a striker, using Gordon up front. Thanks for watching. Liverpool could get Marc Guéhi transfer done imminently after financial incentive vanishes. Liverpool is still keen on bolstering their backline with the signing of Marc Guéhi, even with Giovanni Leone approaching a transfer to Merseyside. The Italian centre-back reportedly traveled to England on Thursday to take part in a medical after the Reds agreed a fee with Serie A side Parma, with Jurel Kwanzaa having since signed for Bayer Leverkusen, however, and Ibrahima Konate still yet to put pen to paper on a contract extension. Reinforcements are a must. As such, both deals for Leone and Guéhi reportedly remain on. According to sources close to Mark Brussakoff's eye, Crystal Palace are hoping to sell Guéhi for around the £45 million 50 meters mark. This goes beyond the £35 million 40 meters Liverpool are understood to value the England international at. Whilst we can certainly appreciate that the Eagles will be looking to get a fair deal for a top international, the fact remains that his contract is set to expire next summer. That said, we can certainly appreciate the fact that Oliver Glasner hardly has a lot of time left in the window to source a top-notch replacement. Crystal Palace have lost Champions League incentive. We don't mean to be brutal about this, and, to be clear, we absolutely sympathize with Crystal Palace fans after a CAS ruling ripped up their dreams of competing in the Europa League, not to mention the possibility of securing a route into the Champions League for the 2026-27 season. That said, the awful reality remains that the Selhurst Park-based outfit's incentive for keeping Marc Guéhi has gone up in smoke, assuming that a further appeal has little impact on their trade in competitions with Nottingham Forest. there's less of a financial incentive attached to keeping the Englishman. Without significant gains to be made in the immediate term, the logic of holding on to him becomes harder to justify. His wages, combined with the potential transfer fee he could command, make him one of the club's most valuable, saleable assets. Champions League football, unless Palace can mount an unlikely push for top-tier European competition through a high Premier League finish, looks to be firmly off the table this season. Even a Europa League or Conference League place would require a dramatic upturn in form, which at present feels like a long shot. With European football unlikely, Palace may have to realign their priorities toward building a more sustainable squad for the future rather than chasing a short-term dream. In which case, as Chairman Steve Parish has already hinted, the most pragmatic course of action is to cash in on the player while his value is still high. Selling now could not only inject much-needed funds into the transfer budget, but also allow the club to reinvest in multiple areas of the squad. Strengthening depth, targeting younger talents, and securing long-term replacements would put Palace in a stronger position for future campaigns, especially if they want to bridge the gap to the Premier League's upper tier. By adding quality options across the pitch, they can reduce reliance on a few key players and better cope with injuries or suspensions. Bringing in promising young prospects not only ensures a pipeline of talent for the years ahead, but also creates assets that could grow in value over time. At the same time, identifying and securing long-term replacements for aging or soon-to-depart stars would provide stability and continuity, helping Palace build a squad capable of competing more consistently with the league's established elite. This combination of short-term reinforcement and forward-thinking recruitment could lay the foundation for sustainable progress. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I was angry all the time. Marcus Rashford reveals true feelings on Jose Mourinho's management approach at Man United. Marcus Rashford has opened up on life under Jose Mourinho at Manchester United and how it took him time to get used to his methods. What happened? Rashford has worked with some of the biggest names in management during his career at Manchester United. The forward was in the academy system under the glory days of Sir Alex Ferguson and went on to feature under Louis van Gaal, Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Erik ten Hag, Ralf Rangnick, and Ruben Amorim at Old Trafford. The bigger picture? Rashford is now working under another demanding manager in Hansi Flick after sealing a season-long loan move to Barcelona. The Germans' teams are known for their intensity. With Rashford already having admitted he's found preseason difficult in Catalonia, the attacker has now been asked about the most influential managers he's worked with and spoke about life under Mourinho at Old Trafford. What Rashford said? Speaking on the Rest Is Football podcast, Marcus Rashford opened up about the coaches who shaped his career the most. Influential, I'd probably say Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I've had so many different managers, so it's impossible to compare them all directly because each one brought a different philosophy and style. But when you're a developing player still young and figuring out your game, certain managers leave a bigger imprint than others. Up until Jose, I'd never had a manager so absolutely fixated on winning. Don't get me wrong, Van Gaal was also obsessed with results, but he wanted them delivered through a beautiful, methodical style of football. He was about patterns, control, and the artistry of the game. Jose, though, was different for him. The result was everything. If you win, you win. No matter how you get there, that's the most important thing. You don't dwell on it, you just move on to the next challenge. At the start, I found that approach tough. I was angry a lot of the time because I wanted to play in a certain way or focus on specific improvements. But he wouldn't always bring those up if we'd won. For him, a victory was enough. But when we lost, that's when he'd highlight every point, every detail that had been missing. After a few months, I began to understand him better. I started to realize that his mentality was built purely around that winning edge, and there's something incredibly valuable in that. Over time, I began to respect it, even if it was different from what I was used to. Once I accepted it, I found myself benefiting from it. I reaped the rewards because he pushed me in a way that demanded both mental and physical resilience. All three of them, Van Gaal, Jose, and Ole, influenced me in different ways. But Jose's approach to winning and mental toughness really left a lasting mark. What next for Rashford? Barcelona kick off the defense of their La Liga crown on Saturday with a home clash against Real Mallorca, and all eyes will be on whether Marcus Rashford plays any part in the fixture. The England forward, who arrived in Spain amid high expectations, is still awaiting official registration with the league, a process that must be completed before he can feature competitively. The delay is understood to be linked to Barcelona's ongoing financial balancing act, as the club continues to navigate La Liga's strict salary cap regulations. While the Catalan giants are confident the paperwork will be finalized in time, there remains a race against the clock to ensure Rashford is available for selection. For the player himself, the prospect of making a debut in front of a packed Camp Nou is an enticing one. Rashford will be eager to make an immediate impact, not only to repay the faith shown in him by Xavi and the board, but also to set the tone for his first season in Spain. If registration comes through in time, Saturday's fixture could offer a glimpse of how he fits into Barcelona's attacking system and how quickly he adapts to the rhythm of La Liga. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe.